There's a word that can silence your inner critic instantly, a word so powerful that Tibetan monks spent years just to grasp its true meaning, and you're about to discover it in the next few minutes. But first, I need to tell you something. Do you know that voice in your head? The one that never tires of pointing out your flaws, your failures, your mistakes. The one that whispers, "You're not enough," when you need confidence most. I know you do, because we all do. That voice isn't you. It never was you. It's an inherited mental program and a psychological virus that has infected humanity for millennia. And today, you'll discover how to disable it forever. Eckhart Tolle uncovered something that changed millions of lives. In the monasteries of Tibet, there's a secret practice that masters use when the mind becomes a torment, a single word that cuts through the mental noise like a sword of silence. But it's not just any word. It's a word that activates specific neural pathways, that reorganizes your brain chemistry in real time, that instantly transforms your relationship with your thoughts. Have you ever experienced those moments where inner criticism is so loud it feels impossible to stop? Where you feel trapped in a mental storm that only worsens the more you fight against it? It's in those precise moments that this word works like magic. Neuroscientists at Harvard University discovered something astounding. When certain sacred words are consciously repeated, they activate the vagus nerve. The parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. The prefrontal cortex reassumes control from the overactive amygdala. In other words, science confirmed what ancient masters already knew. There's a sound technology that can literally hack your nervous system. But here's what no one else tells you. The word doesn't work because of the word itself. It works because it interrupts the pattern. It breaks the hypnotic trance of self-criticism. It creates a space of silence where you can choose a different response. In the oldest Buddhist texts, there are records of a practice called the word of severance, specific syllables used to cut through negative mental states, not to suppress them, but to transcend them. Ramana Maharshi taught something similar, a question mantra that dissipated any disturbing thought instantly. Who is thinking this? 3 words that would completely disarm the inner critic, because the inner critic has a fatal weakness. It can only operate when you believe you are the one thinking those thoughts. The moment you realize there's an observer separate from the thoughts, the illusion dissolves. Eckhart Tolle realized that the most powerful word to activate this perception is a word you use every day, but never in the right way, never with the necessary awareness to unleash its true power. Want to know what it is? Before I reveal it, you need to understand why it works. Because without understanding the mechanism, you might use the word as just another mental trick, and mental tricks always stop working. The inner critic operates through identification. It convinces you that you are having those thoughts, that those self-destructive voices are your own voice. But that's a neurological illusion. Research in neuroplasticity shows that the brain produces between 60 and 70,000 thoughts a day, most automatic, most repetitive, most completely outside your conscious control. You're not generating these thoughts, and they're happening in you, like weather patterns happen in the sky. The sky isn't responsible for storms. You are not responsible for self-critical thoughts. When you understand this viscerally, something extraordinary happens. The identification with the inner critic begins to dissolve naturally, and that's exactly where the magic word acts. In tantric texts, there are descriptions of mantras that function as demon slayers, not because they combat external forces, but because they dissolve the internal illusions that torment us. Self-criticism is one of those internal demons. It's not a real entity. It's an energetic pattern, a neural habit that has strengthened through repetition. But every neural habit can be modified. Every pattern can be interrupted. The word that Eckhart Tolle rediscovered does exactly that. It acts like a neural switch. The moment you use it consciously, something changes in the quality of your attention. You move from the victim position of thoughts to the observer position of thoughts. And an observer can never be hurt by what it observes. But there's an even deeper secret. The word works because it reconnects you with what you are before any thought, with that dimension of yourself that has never been touched by any criticism, that remains intact, pure, silent. Sufis call this fana, a temporary dissolution of the ego. Zen Buddhists call it ku, conscious emptiness. Tolle calls it presence. Regardless of the name, It's the same state. It's you without the mental commentary. You without the internal narrative. You in your original purity. And here's the part that will impress you. You've experienced this state thousands of times. In those rare moments where the mind becomes completely quiet. When you're absorbed contemplating a sunset, lost in music, completely present with someone you love. In those moments, where was the inner critic? Gone. Because it can only exist when there's identification with mental movement. The magic word is simply a way to access this state consciously, at any moment, regardless of what your mind is doing. In Zen monasteries, there's a stick called a keisaku. It's used to awaken monks during meditation when they become sleepy or agitated, a sudden touch that brings them back to presence. The word functions as a mental keisaku, a wake-up call that breaks any negative trance instantly. Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen master, taught a version of this practice. He told his students, when the mind becomes a storm, whisper a sacred word, not to stop the storm, but to remember that you are the sky where the storm happens. You are the sky, not the storm. But what exactly is this word? It's a word you've known since childhood, but rarely use with full awareness. A word that, when spoken with the correct intention, can transform your inner experience in seconds. Get ready, because what you're about to discover will change your relationship with your mind forever. The word is no, but not as you imagine, not as resistance. In recognition, when that inner critic fires up, you're a failure. You'll never succeed. You're not enough. Instead of fighting those thoughts or believing them, you simply say no, not angrily, not forcefully. With the same calm ease you'd say no thank you to someone offering something you don't want. But there's a specific way to use this word, an intonation, a quality of attention, a presence behind it that activates its true power. In the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly how to apply this technique, how to transform a simple word into an instantaneous tool of liberation. You'll discover why Tibetan masters say a single syllable uttered with full awareness holds more power than 1,000 mechanically repeated prayers. And most importantly, you'll experience firsthand how to silence your inner critic using just 3 letters, ready to never again be a hostage to your own mind. The technique you're about to learn has been preserved in Tibetan monasteries for over 1,000 years. But Eckhart Tolle discovered how to adapt it for modern life, how to transform it into a practical tool anyone can use. First, you need to understand that there are 3 levels to using the word no. The first level is the most basic. It's the no of interruption. When you notice the inner critic has fired up, you simply say no mentally, as if you were turning off a noisy radio. Imagine your mind as a house with several radios playing different stations. The inner critic is like a radio tuned into a 24/7 station of bad news. The first level is simply hitting the off button on that specific radio, but that's just the beginning. The second level is the no of disidentification. Here you're not just stopping the thought, you're separating yourself from it, recognizing, this is not me, this is just a program running in my mind. It's like realizing you're not the character in a movie, you're the one watching the movie. The self-critical thoughts are merely dramatic scenes playing on the screen of consciousness. You can choose to get emotionally involved with them, or simply observe with healthy detachment. And the third level is where the real magic happens. It's the no of pure presence, where you use the word as a gateway to what you are beyond any thought, where no becomes an affirmation of your true nature. At this level, no doesn't mean rejection. It means recognition. No, I am not limited by these thoughts. I am the unlimited consciousness in which all thoughts appear and disappear. It's a no that comes from the deepest self-love, not from resistance. Let's practice together right now. Close your eyes for a moment, or keep them open. It doesn't matter. The important thing is to direct your attention inward. Now think of a self-critical thought you had recently. It could be about your work, your appearance, your abilities, anything your mind uses to attack you. Let that thought appear, don't fight it. Just observe how it arises in your consciousness. Feel how it affects your body, how it changes your energy, how it creates a contraction in your chest, a tension in your stomach. Now, mentally whisper, no, but not as a struggle, as if you were gently dismissing a persistent salesperson at your doorstep. Firm, but without aggression. No, thank you. This isn't for me. Feel the difference. how something shifts in the quality of your attention. Now I'll teach you the 3 components that make this word work like a neurological master key. First component, the pause. When you say no, you create an interruption in the automatic flow of thoughts. This pause is sacred. It's the space where you regain your freedom of choice, but the pause needs a specific quality. It's not an anxious pause, where you're struggling to stop the thoughts. It's a relaxed pause, like when you stop to admire a beautiful flower, natural, effortless. Neuroscientists have discovered that this conscious pause activates what they call the brain's default mode network, circuits associated with self-awareness and emotional regulation. It's literally like resetting your mental operating system. In Buddhist texts, this pause is called bardo, the space between one thought and the next, the space where anything is possible. The Tibetans say that in this pause resides the full potential of enlightenment. Without the pause, you remain a prisoner of mental momentum. With the pause, you become the director of your own inner experience. Second component, the intention. The word no needs to come from a specific place within you, not from the ego fighting against other aspects of the ego, but from that silent place that observes everything without judgment. Imagine that within you there is a wise elder, someone who has seen all possible emotional storms and remained serene through them all. It is this inner sage who utters the no, with firmness but without aggression, with clarity but without judgment. The correct intention is not to destroy the inner critic. It's like a loving parent who says no to a child who wants to play with fire. The no comes from love, not anger, from wisdom, not reactivity. It's as if there were a silent witness within you, completely calm, completely present. And it is this witness that says no to the mental dramas. Ramana Maharshi called this witness I am. Eckhart Tolle calls it presence. It is what you are before any thought about who you are. Third component, the return. After saying no, you don't remain in emptiness. You consciously return to the present moment, to your breath, to the sensations in your body, to the sounds around you. But this return isn't automatic. It needs to be intentional. It's like changing the television channel. You don't just turn off the bad channel, you actively tune into a channel that nourishes your soul. You anchor your attention in the now, because it is only in the present that the inner critic loses all its power. The critic always lives in psychological time. You should have done differently in the past. You will fail in the future. It can never operate in the pure present moment. It's like a ghost that can only exist in the darkness. When you turn on the light of presence, it simply disappears. Now let's practice the complete technique. Think again about that self-critical thought. Let it surface without resistance. First, pause. Take a deep breath. Create a conscious space. Second, intention. From the quietest place within you, whisper, no. Third, return. Bring your attention back to this moment. Feel your body. Listen to the sounds. Be present. Did you do it? How do you feel now? If you applied it correctly, you should have felt a subtle yet definitive shift in the quality of your inner experience, a feeling that you've regained control over your own mind. But here's where things get really powerful. Neuroscience has discovered that when you consciously interrupt a mental pattern, you weaken the neural connections that support that pattern. It's like undoing a path in the forest by ceasing to tread it. Each time you use the no technique, you're literally reprogramming your brain, creating new neural pathways based on presence instead of reactivity. Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz, a neuroscientist at UCLA, has proven that mindful attention can physically alter the brain's structure. He calls it self-directed neuroplasticity. You are not a victim of your mental patterns. You are the architect of your own neurological transformation. In Zen monasteries, monks practice something called shikantaza, sitting without an object, simply being present without trying to accomplish anything. The no technique is a form of instant shikantaza, an immediate return to pure presence in the midst of daily life. But there's more. There's an advanced version of this practice that will completely transform your relationship with all negative thoughts. It's the compassionate no technique. Instead of simply dismissing self-critical thoughts, you acknowledge them as symptoms of a wounded mind, as signals that some part of you needs care and attention. Imagine your inner critic is like a frightened child within you. This child learned that it needs to be perfect to be loved. that it needs to anticipate attacks by criticizing itself first. It's a survival strategy that once worked, but now only causes suffering. When the inner critic attacks, you say, "No, I'm not going to believe that, but I see that there's suffering here. I see that there's fear here, and I choose to respond with compassion." It's as if you're saying to this inner child, "I understand why you're scared. I see you're trying to protect me the way you know how, but now I'm going to take care of us in a more loving way." You can even place your hand on your heart and mentally say, "May I be kind to myself. May I treat myself with the same compassion I would offer a good friend. May I acknowledge my shared humanity. We all make mistakes, we all have limitations, and that's part of the human experience." It's a complete revolution. Instead of inner war, you create inner peace. Instead of self-aggression, self-compassion. Instead of two parts of you fighting, a unified movement towards self-love. Thich Nhat Hanh taught that we should treat our negative thoughts like crying children. You don't ignore a crying child, but you also don't let it dictate your decision. You say, "I see you, I love you, I acknowledge your suffering, and now I'm going to choose thoughts that nourish us, that heal us, that make us grow." This activates completely different neural pathways. Instead of the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. Instead of cortisol and adrenaline pumping through your system, you release oxytocin, the hormone of love and connection, and serotonin, the neurotransmitter of happiness. Your brain learns that inner safety is possible, that you can be your own refuge in any mental storm. Now I'm going to tell you something that may sound impossible, but it's absolutely real. If you practice this technique consistently for just 1 week, your mind will change in a measurable way. Neuroimaging studies show detectable changes in brain activity after just 8 days of focused contemplative practice. Dr. Sarah Lazar, a neuroscientist at Harvard, conducted studies using MRI scans that showed structural changes in the brain after just 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation, but she discovered that the first signs of change appear much more quickly. The amygdala, the center of fear and reactivity, becomes less active. It's as if your brain's alarm button is recalibrated to be less sensitive to false threats, less anxiety, less emotional reactivity, less automatic activation of danger mode. The prefrontal cortex, the center of conscious decision-making and self-regulation, strengthens. It's the part of the brain responsible for conscious choices, future planning, and inhibitory control. When it strengthens, you literally gain more power to choose your responses instead of reacting automatically. The anterior cingulate cortex, responsible for self-compassion and empathy, expands. This is a fascinating discovery. Compassion is not just a feeling, it's a neurological capacity that can be developed like a muscle. The hippocampus, the center of learning and memory, develops more gray matter. This means better ability to form new positive memories and greater mental flexibility to break free from old patterns. And perhaps even more impressive, the insula, a region associated with body awareness and intuition, becomes thicker. This means you develop a greater ability to feel what's happening in your body and use that information to guide your decisions. You literally sculpt a new brain through mindful attention. Like a sculptor who removes excess marble to reveal the artwork that has always been there, you remove unnecessary mental patterns to reveal the peace that has always been your true nature. But here's the secret that few understand. The transformation doesn't just happen during formal practice, it happens in the micro moments throughout the day. Every time you choose presence instead of reactivity. In the supermarket checkout line, when your mind starts criticizing you for being late, "No, I am here now." In traffic, when the inner critic fires up about something you said hours ago, "No, that moment has passed. I choose peace." Before bed, when your mind wants to replay all your failures of the day, "No, I honor my efforts. I rest in gratitude." Each conscious no is a vote for your own freedom. Each interruption of the pattern is a step towards inner mastery. And here's the most beautiful part. As you practice, something extraordinary happens. The inner critic doesn't disappear completely. It transforms. It becomes softer, wiser, more compassionate. Instead of "you're a failure," it might say, "Perhaps there's a better way to approach this." Instead of "you'll never succeed," it whispers, "You're learning," and that's enough. Your inner voice becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Rumi, the great mystic poet, wrote, "Beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing there is a field. I'll meet you there." That field is the space created by the word no. It's where you transcend the duality of good and bad, right and wrong, enough and insufficient. It's where you discover you've always been enough, always whole, always free. Inner criticism is just a habit, and every habit can be modified through the conscious repetition of a new choice. Your new choice is simple. No. No to self-judgment. No to self-attack. No to the mental prison you built without realizing it. And yes to presence. Yes to compassion. Yes to the peace that has always been your true nature. The most powerful word in the universe isn't yes, it's no. Because only when you learn to say no to what doesn't serve you, do you create space for what really matters. Your mental peace, your genuine self-esteem, your inner freedom. All of this is a single word away, a 3-letter word that can change your life forever. No. Use it well. Use it with love. Use it whenever you need to remember who you truly are. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which thoughts to nurture. And now, you have the tool to make that choice consciously, at any moment, for the rest of your life. Eckhart Tolle would agree. This simple yet powerful shift unlocks profound inner peace. Embrace the no and watch your life transform.